सत्यं परं धीमहि। ॐ सत्यं परं धीमहि। ॐ सत्यं परं धीमहि। ॐ सत्यं परं धीमहि। ॐ सत्यं परं धीमहि।
Close our eyes. Feel the music. Feel the breath as it moves in and out. Feel the breath merging with the blood and moving throughout the body. Sense the whole body. We relax the body. Use our attention to relax the body. Relax the head. Relax the forehead. The two eyes and around the eyes. The ears. Nose. The two cheeks. There's a lot of tension in the cheeks. Relax the cheeks. Two lips. Inside the mouth, the tongue, the teeth, the gums. Relax the chin. Loosen the jawbone, the neck, the two shoulders. There's a lot of tension in the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Two hands, the back, the chest, the stomach, the two legs. Feel the body is totally relaxed, totally empty. Just the movement of breath. Now in that empty space, fill it up with our presence. अपना हुआ पड़ा है अवतरण खावा दियो खाली जगह હું છું I am present. I am there in all the ups and downs of life, in all the joys and all the miseries. is in eternity. So the meeting of the higher and lower, of God and His creation. Hold both together. Slowly the music will switch off. Keep holding both the feelings, the breath and the present. Throughout the talk, try to hold your presence, try to be present. Jai Shri Krishna. Good evening. Can I just suggest something? I don't know your name at the back. Yeah, please. There are two ways to close the eyes. One is I close my eyes, and one is I just release the tension in the eyes and let them fall. So try to do that. You're holding too much tension in your eyes. So when you close your eyes, there's that effort to close them. The closing of the eyes should be effortless. So you just hold the eyes, release all the tension, and let the eyes just fall down like that. We'll continue where we left off. It's very important, the law of opposites. Unless we can accommodate the opposite, unless we can learn to see the opposite, we will always deny truth. We can never see truth, we can never feel truth. Because truth is made of opposites. And both are true. So try to see our own fixed ideas. We have fixed ideas of what is right and what is wrong. And these attitudes are created very early in childhood. See, attitudes are one of the deepest chains which bind us. We don't realize that within our attitudes we are totally asleep. We don't have to make any effort to live life. Our attitudes live life for us. We are not doing anything. Whether they are attitudes in the thinking, in the emotions, in the moving, they just take an automatic stance. Somebody of some religion comes, they take an automatic stance. Somebody eating some kind of food, they take an automatic stance. Somebody wearing some kind of clothes, they take an automatic stance. Somebody of some kind of color, they take an automatic stance. And it's so mechanical. And there is no consciousness. So we must see inside what are the fixed ideas we have about what is right and what is wrong. And as long as we have fixed ideas, we are living in a very, very small part of our consciousness. Brahma, the word Brahma means expansion of consciousness. And we see Brahma sitting on a lotus flower. The expansion of consciousness is such that it's the lotus flower. Now nothing can touch that consciousness, like water cannot touch the lotus flower. Right? So, we think truth has only one leg, whilst truth is a tightrope walk. There is balance. You have to learn to balance life, neither to the left, neither to the right. You keep on balancing life. And balance is truth. Samatvam yoga uchyate. But if we reject some part of life and accept some part of life, then there can never be truth. So for us, truth is an invariable. It has to be non-adaptable. It cannot change. And because we have fixed ideas about truth, fixed ideas about life, there is no balance in our life. We are always one-sided. We are always moving on one side. And we think we know what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. And because we are fixed in that, we cannot move to the other side. There is no balance. And everything in life is balance. Every moment in life. And immediately something comes up in front of us, try to bring in the opposite. Try to bring in the opposite. Open your consciousness, bring in the opposite. See the opposite. And that will lead us more closer to the truth. All we can see is this is right, this is wrong. And we are fixed over here. So the events of life keep on coming, one by one. And every time an event comes, our pendulum swings between right and wrong and good and bad. And because of that, we can never see the truth of the event. The truth is hidden from us. It is hidden in that attitude that this is right and this is wrong. So we want to develop a new art, a new way of living. And that is every moment we assimilate, we absorb the opposite, the other side of the pendulum. We don't stay on one side of the pendulum. We are learning slowly to come to the middle of the pendulum. This is where truth is. See, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. You have a pendulum and it swings. And when it swings, it's slowest over here and it's slowest over here, but it's fastest over here. And truth is here. And we are always here or here. But we can never, because our consciousness is too weak to remain over here. And the pendulum is fastest over there. And that is where truth is. In the old days, I remember in 1974, I attended Radhe's first camp. At that time it was called Bhagwan Radhe, not Osho, in Mount Abu. And it was a 10-day meditation camp. And on the first day he came and he said, for these 10 days, I'm going to give you 2 phrases and keep on remembering them. Let go now. Let go now. You're holding on to an attitude, you're holding on that this is true. Let go now. When to let go? Now. Right? Of course, what he meant at that time was that you're in this camp for 10 days and you get a thought of your office, let go. Now you get a thought of home, let go. Now. When to let go? Now. Right? So, it became something which I remembered always, that any time you're in a certain state where you're aggressive about something, you feel this is right, he should not have done this should not have happened, let go. When to let go? Now. And it stayed with me all these years, that first lesson in Mount Abu. So, try to let go what you are holding on to. And if you can let go what you are holding on to, life will bring something new. So we keep on ignoring and rejecting everything that does not correspond to our point of view. What we think truth should be, what we imagine truth should be. Right? Everything else is the devil. Everything else is the sin. Right? This is what is truth. Can you see we are all walking on one leg? So, there's a beautiful note from the Bible. The woods of the trees of the field went forth and took counsel together and said, "Come, let us go and make war against the sea." All the trees of the forest, they got together and they made a council meeting. All the trustees got together, the trees, and they said, "Let's get rid of the sea. Let's get rid of that it may depart before us, and that we may make us more woods." Right? We convert more people, more woods. The waves of the sea also in like manner took counsel together and said, "Come, let us go up and subdue the wood of the plain." And the waves of the sea, they also got together. Let us get rid of the forest. Let us get rid of the land. Let's make everything into water. And there also we may make us another country. The counsel of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. And then a forest fire came and consumed all the wood, and all their ego of the wood was gone, that we will take over the sea. Likewise, the counsel of the waves of the sea, for the sand stood up and stopped them. That's the Bible. Right? And the sand said, you cannot come further, we are stopping you. Right? See, everything in life is in balance, and it is the opposite which balances it. Right? At least in life, try to see the opposite. Later on, we want to go in and see the opposites within ourselves. Here the writer is of course using physical images to explain a very deep inner truth. Right? So, all balance is the result of the opposites. Without the opposite there cannot be balance. And if there was no balance, then either the sea would have the upper hand, or the trees would have the upper hand, or the sand would have the upper hand, or winter would say there can be no summer and it would go on forever and ever. Right? So there's the law of the pendulum, and this pendulum swings to and fro. As it swings to the right, it gets slower and slower. Please understand this in life. It's very difficult to live with a master, a teacher. They keep on creating conditions to confuse you. They are not interested in giving you spoon-fed understanding. They keep on creating conditions. And their only interest is that the disciple's inner light starts on its own. His own inner lamp, the light comes on that lamp. This is the only thing. And for that, he creates more and more situations of darkness. He throws the disciple into more and more darkness. And a time comes when you can't take it. You can't take it. And there was a time with me also, I just could not take it anymore. So I asked him that, where are we going from here? What are we going to do from here? And he said, the law of the pendulum. He said, the last hour before dawn is the darkest. The last hour before dawn is the darkest. See, the pendulum, when you feel it has come to the extreme, I can't take any more. But that is when it is moving the slowest. It is moving, now it is about to turn and move in the opposite direction. Right? And this is the law. It's the law. But we don't see it. We are stuck with one extreme. We say, oh, there is so much pain in life. There's so much sorrow in life. Right? And we can't see that at any moment it is going to turn. And if we can just accommodate that in our consciousness, then everything will change. So as it swings in one direction, it gets slower and slower till it stops and then swings in the opposite direction. These opposites alternately have power over us. If I'm very happy, also it has power over me, and if I'm suffering a lot, also it has power over me. And it is this slavery I want to be free of. So try to understand that when it is fully to the right, it is the weakest, and when it is fully to the left, it is the weakest. And we can see this in many people's life, that suddenly they change. Suddenly they change. That when they are people who are most against us, suddenly they start supporting us. What has happened? In Christianity, one of the greatest examples is of Saint Paul, who persecuted the Christians. And at one moment he had this inner vision and things turned from that moment. Right? So, at that extreme, things just turn and things can go. To understand this, we must have a double thinking. We must change our way of thinking. Just the logical mind will not do over here. Because the logical mind can see only the action of one force in life. It cannot see the other force, and we are second force blind. Third force is very, very far away. And don't think that Newton created this third law of motion, where he says that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The rishis knew this law much before. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If today I am loving towards you, somewhere the opposite has to be within me. It cannot be otherwise. And we will go deeper into this law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Can you see? Every moment in life I am asking for something. Every moment I am desiring something. And I am always desiring comfort. I am always desiring happiness. Even if we are going on a journey or taking me somewhere inside is that things will be comfortable. Can you see what I am trying to say? And can you see this law in operation? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Each moment in life I am asking for something, and each moment this law is in operation. And then when the pendulum swings in the other direction, we don't realize that we asked for it because this was the law. We think that I never asked for it. But in that very asking for happiness, we forgot the law that there are two forces in life. We only think life is one force. Science accepts two forces. It does not accept the third force. Spirituality talks about three forces. So, try to accommodate this, make a different way of thinking. Think in terms of duplicates, think in terms of doubles in life. So it's very difficult to conceive this initially. So at present we are only talking of two forces which govern and limit all things and all phenomena. All visible events, all visible things, everything in earthly life takes place between two forces, whether it is psychological, whether it is physical. It is between these two forces of the pendulum. War follows peace and famine follows plenty. Today we have a good time followed by a bad time. See, again we go to the Bible, very famous song, The Windmills of Your Mind. I don't know if you've heard the song, a beautiful song. And it's quite old, it must be about 30 or 40 years old. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose. Of course the song, he has taken the words from the Bible, but it was a very famous song some years ago. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Everything swings in life. And just if we can accommodate the opposite, we have separated from life. That very moment we have separated from life. We've understood the truth. So in one part of time things go well, and in another part of time things go badly. Everything comes to an end in time and is replaced by its opposite. The end of sorrow is joy and the end of weeping is laughter. Life lies between opposites. And if we realize this, we realize what controls events and how life is controlled. And then we understand events. So everything is the result of two opposite forces which tend to counterbalance each other and so produce balance in life. And the example is the working of the body. Every system in the body counterbalances the other. Try it. See, the first master self, which is there in the mother's womb, it splits into two. Right? And science says that is the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. The first splitting, that is the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, each balancing the other. Right? Yoga says it is Muladhara and Swadhisthana. Right? The splitting in two. Right? So, and Muladhara is rock solid and Swadhisthana is pure liquid, each balancing the other. So, the beginning of life is through the opposite. The first spark of life. So we cannot have a rigid code of truth. I'm coming back to that. A rigid fixed set of rules. Truth is, this religion says, do this, don't do this. It's not possible. Maybe when man was in the nomadic age, I can understand some 10 commandments or something. Of course, the 10 commandments are metaphorically, they mean something very deep. But you can't have a set of rules. How can you have a set of rules? Right? So, we will never find truth if we are stuck on one side of the pendulum. Nothing is ever the same in time. Nothing remains the same. Time changes everything. And everything in time changes between the two poles of the pendulum, between the opposites. Can you see that when the pendulum is moving in this direction, the power of this direction is slowly increasing? Can you see? When it is moving in this direction, the power of this direction is slowly increasing. At this point, this is in full power. Right? It's going to make it turn and go. We think, we are in such good days, times are so good and everything is so happy. And we can't see behind this. So, in which time are we? Where is the swing? Where is the period of the pendulum? Where is it swinging? And see what the Chinese say. They say that yin goes moving into yang and the yang goes moving into yin. These are the circle of life, the move between the two poles of the pendulum. They make one circle. They are a constant movement of one into the other. The female moves into the male and the male moves into the female. This is a constant moving. And light becomes darkness and darkness goes on moving into light. And when we are bored by light, we are attracted by darkness. And when we are bored by darkness, we are attracted by light. And life is a totality. And try to see the Hindu attitude towards life. Right? In the Hindu attitude, there was no set of rules. There was no set of rules. The other religions of the world, they brought a set of rules with them. Right? The Hindus had no rules. There was a total acceptance of life. Krishna is laughing. Krishna is dancing the ras with women. He's falling in love. He's fighting a war. He's speaking the truth one day, he's speaking lies the other day. Can you see the totality of this? They are saying nothing is away from the truth. So, if we deny anything in life, we are denying God. Just in that denial, we are denying God. So he is enjoying everything in life, and that is why we call him as Purna Avatar. There is no part of life, total avatar of life, no part of life which he has not enjoyed. We cannot imagine Buddha dancing and laughing and playing ras, or Mahavir dancing and laughing and playing ras, or maybe Christ playing and dancing and we can do that. Christ on the cross, very solemn, right? Just take away the cross and there's no Christianity. Right? So, this is a different way of life where everything is right in life. Everything is right in life. So, if we choose God, in that very choice we have denied nothing. We have accepted everything. Now, the Upanishads have a beautiful word. Tattvamasi. Thou art that. Thou art that. God is that. That. Whatever is there in life is thatness. Whatever is thatness. Thou art that. Tattvamasi. But we keep on moving. That this is right and this is wrong. And then our God becomes a part of that opposite. You've been to a wedding, no? And have you ever seen the wedding songs? The songs they sing in the wedding? Right? Not a single wedding. They will say the Varaja, the bridegroom is so beautiful and he looks like this. They will say he looks like Ram, he looks like this. Not a single wedding will they say he looks like Krishna. No father-in-law will say, I want a bridegroom for my daughter like Krishna. He'll go to the temple to worship Krishna. But no one will say, get me a son-in-law like Krishna. It's like Ram is good. We can't accept life. This is one thing which I observe in all the weddings. No one sings, there's no single song. So thatness, tattvamasi, thou art that. And everything is implied in that, nothing is denied in life. And this is the Hindu way, the Upanishadic way of life. Everything is accepted, what we call Vedanta. Everything is accepted in life. So things go well, things go badly. But as long as we are stuck, we always wish everything to be the same. Can you see? Will you love me forever and ever? How is it possible? How is it possible? It's not possible. Now you have changed. I did not expect this from you. Not possible. And you're just trying to fit life into a very, very narrow point of view. And we are incapable of adjusting. And truth is flexible. It adjusts each moment because it is a balance. So we don't have the ability to see the other point of view, to see the opposite, to see both sides of the pendulum. And as long as we are stuck in one side, we are living a dead life, a monotonous life. There's a life without life. So first learn to lean to the right, lean to the left, and live in a state where everything is in balance. And keep on saying, even if something you don't like comes in, you say, thou art that. Tattvamasi, thou art that. Something you feel should be rejected, say, thou art that. Because where there is no polarity, where the two poles of the pendulum fall down, you have suddenly escaped from the law. You're free in that. In that, there is no space. The mind needs these two poles to move. And if these two poles are not there, the mind cannot move. It has to become silent. There's no other way out for the mind. Now there's nothing left. There's no space. In that very space, you go beyond the mind. You transcend the mind. Mantra. Man means mind. Tra, transcend the mind. You transcended the mind. The mind needs these two poles of the pendulum. And when there is, both the poles fall down, then there is God in that moment. We see and understand God. So we see Krishna dancing with the gopi, with the girl. But Krishna is the divine dancing with the divine, because the two poles have fallen down. Now I want to talk about something in this journey my teacher used to call Radhe Krishna. And that is why in the rhythmic breathing, he used to say you have this japa of Radhe Krishna with the breath. So we put it in the breath, Radhe Krishna. The idea is to be conscious of both sides of the pendulum. It is to relate to the law of the pendulum. So on a very basic level, when we learn the rhythmic breathing, the breath becomes Radhe and the music becomes Krishna. This is how we start. Right? Now, from there we start proceeding within ourselves. Right? So, This is a long journey, and he used to call it the journey of Radhe Krishna. And many people at times, because he would talk in such few words, they misunderstood what he was saying. They didn't go beyond the breathing. They didn't take the attention beyond the breathing. So can we turn things around? At least mentally, can we turn things around? And we want to now start by training our thinking instrument. We want to train it. This is an exercise to turn things around. That is, we pause and expand our consciousness to make space for the opposite to fit in. We are making space in our home, in the conscious, in our psychological country. Psychological room for the other side to fit in. So, can you see active becomes passive and passive becomes active? One force merging into another force. And they exchange places. The first T20 World Cup was in South Africa. And Yuvraj Singh hit 6 sixers in 1 over. Now, if you follow the law, this law of the pendulum, you will see in the previous over, he had a fight with the English bowler. Right? So he was very angry. Right? And he turned that passive anger which he had inside into active force. Of course, he did it mechanically. It was under the law of accident. There was no consciousness over there. Right? But what I'm trying to say is that he turned that, because he could not say anything to the bowler, that passive anger which was built up inside, he turned it into an active force and he hit 6 sixers in the next over. Try to see, in life every moment there are two forces, and right exchange of forces can lead to creativity. Right exchange of forces can lead to aesthetic. Yes. Right? And wrong use of forces can lead to destruction, to falling down into deeper negativity. So try to make active passive and passive active, and keep trying to do this. So consciously in the mind, try to take the opposite view. Try to take the opposite view. You're jealous of somebody, try to take the opposite view. Try to accommodate it. Now, this is a real struggle inside. This is a very big struggle inside. Without this, the consciousness will not expand. Maybe I'm jealous of somebody's success. Right? Now, try to bring in the opposite. Try to see the opposite. That, okay, I am successful and he is jealous. Can I bring this in? Can I exchange places? And try to hold it over there. And it will widen the mind. It will widen, just include the opposite. But at the same time, don't reject your point of view. I'm jealous of him. If I say, okay, I'm happy with him, I'm bringing in the opposite. Don't reject the jealousy. Bring them both close together. Bring them so that you come to because happiness and jealousy will be two sides, and we want to hold on to the middle. So you want to bring both the opposites together and hold them at one point where everything stops. So we realize that we are bringing the opposites together, and do it in small things in life. Do it in small things. Right? My wife has said something, I'm feeling irritated, I'm on the verge of snapping back at her. Try to bring peace in. Try to remember a situation when you felt love for her, and try to bring both together. Just hold them over there. This will also be a form of self-remembering. Where because we have to bring it out of memory, that in which situation did I love her? Was I very loving towards her? Right? And suddenly we are holding those two situations together. And this is what we call tightrope walking. Tightrope walking. Always bring in the opposite. Swing this way, swing that way. Now, supposing we suddenly get a rush of very violent thinking. It's in our blood, it's in our breathing, it's a sudden rush of violent thinking. You know, when the unconscious mind opens up, and we are trying to take light in the unconscious, and the waves, the things lying in the unconscious for so long, and then it comes in waves. And the most frightening waves are the waves of anger, because for no apparent cause, and suddenly you're so angry you can't believe it, and there is no apparent cause. You may be totally alone. There is no instrumental cause outside. It's just that the anger is coming out of the unconscious mind. And we have to pass through that. We have to pass. And we know because of the consciousness that if we express this anger, we are gone. Then the whole cycle is going to repeat. We don't want to fall. After all, we worked for years to come to this state where the unconscious is opening and these sudden waves of anger are coming. And we know that as long we can just wait and watch and watch and watch, and at one point it's gone. You have to pass through it. It's something which you have to pass through. And I know it because I have been through this myself. And at that time I was lecturing in England, and there was this therapist, and I met her for the first time, and she says, I want to do an experiment with you. I want to attach she has all kinds of machines and things she does, so I'll attach all these things to your and I'll take a scan of what is happening within you. So she took the scan, so you see, everything is okay, but my anger reading is coming very, very high, and I can't see any anger in you. I said, no, your reading is right. You see, so we have to pass through a stage where anger. Actually, last year I was in Delhi for 4 days, and she came down to Delhi, and we took a few groups together. And she had just got a new machine from Japan. She says, I want to open it. The opening is with you. And so I just come from Bombay, and I was very busy in Bombay those 4-5 days. So it was not possible to find time to eat in Bombay. So you get ready-made packets of oats. So you put it in the microwave, and in 2 minutes it's ready. So 4 days I was eating oats in Bombay. Now, she attached this machine, and the machine took a scan of everything, that this is this, this is this. And then the machine said, tell him to stop eating oats, he's eating too much oats. So that was really something. So we can have a sudden rush of violent thinking. Sudden rush of violent thinking. And it's obvious that when we are feeling so violent inside, that we are at one end of the pendulum. It's very obvious. Now, this end has come into the light of our consciousness. Right? Definitely, this end has not yet come in the light of our consciousness. I'm talking about this journey, Radhe Krishna. So try to just understand this. So now, if I become angry, then I'm not aware of anything. Then it's just I've become identified. I've allowed the anger to take control of me, and that's the end of the matter. And this doesn't come in. But now we are assuming that we've suddenly become aware at this end, and we are in a very, very violent state inside, and we've become aware that okay, I am in this violent state. Now what do I do? So, say we pause. We just pause over there, stop. I did last year, I take the pause exercise. I took the pause exercise last year. Okay. We pause. And we try to think of the opposite state. We try to bring in the opposite state. Say we call the opposite state as love or gentleness or something of that sort. So we are trying to remember a state when we were in feeling love and trying to remember that state, bringing that state into our sensitivity. Right? So, and this is Atmasmar, self-remembering. This is the highest form of meditation. We are trying to remember that state. And in that we suddenly relax, or either the violence overtakes us and we give out. Okay, we've lost this battle. That doesn't mean we've lost the war. Again the state will come. And so we try to hold both together, and we know that life, the truth is in the opposites, in holding the opposites. And we will keep doing this and keep returning to this till we come to a state where we are holding both together. Now suddenly violence and gentleness are the same thing. Now this is very difficult to take in our consciousness, to expand our consciousness, to say that these are both one thing. The violence was there because of the gentleness inside of me. Am I coming across in this? This is now double thinking. This is what we call as Vivek. Vivek. The light has come. The feeling of truth. The feeling of truth. And in this, many things will become apparent to us. Many, many things. The minute we do this, the first thing we will see that everything returns. Not only is this just one side of the pendulum, but there are many pendulums within us. And the violence which we do to somebody else, whether it is in thought or anything, everything returns. Right? See, now say I'm observing a mother. Right? I'm observing a mother. Now, the mother is scolding the child. Right? And I'm not talking of something which is out of imagination, something which I've seen in all my travels and all that. So, the mother is scolding the child is a young child, he's crying. And the mother is trying to, at one point the mother gets so frustrated, right? And the child is not listening to the mother. And the mother doesn't know, she's mechanical. She doesn't know, but in that intensity of frustration, in that this thing, she says, Ja mar. Right? She says, Ja mar, go, die. She doesn't want her child to die. No mother wants but this is something which has happened in the intensity of the moment. Now can you see the law of return? The law of return. That which I throw out has to return to me. And we can't see this, that nothing dies in life. Nothing dies in life. See, it is only in our imagination that there are straight lines. In the universe, there's no place where there's a straight line. Of course, we build our homes in straight lines, rectangles, and etc. 1.6 ratio and all that. Fibonacci sequences, right? So, but in this thing, in life, there are no straight lines. Everything that goes returns, and it returns according to the law of the pendulum. It has to return. It cannot go anywhere else. Right? Can you see that I say ja, mar, and then after 10 years I suddenly get a cancer? Can you see how life returns? And I have said it in such intensity in that moment. And I never realize what is happening. And this is the law of life, that everything goes between the one end of the pendulum to the other end of the law of eternal return. So, what we feel that I am doing violence towards you, what I am, putting you in your place, it is not true. It always returns. It has to return because there are no straight lines in life. So, we cannot see that every thought, every emotion automatically excites the opposite. It's automatic. Now, what we have done, we have brought two opposites together. That is, we have said violence, gentleness, we have brought two opposites together. And we have cancelled them, but are we still free? Are we still free? This is a good exercise, but really, has it changed anything? Try to think. Has it changed anything? It's a good exercise, and we should start with this, right? But has it changed anything? Try to see that we first started with the music. The music was Krishna, the breath was Radha. So we say Radhe, Krishna. Now slowly our attention is dividing. Our attention is dividing. And we say the events of life, each event of life is Radha, Radhe. Right? Each event of life is Radhe. And the reaction I have to that event of life, which at present is violence, is Krishna. Right? So that is my reaction to this event of life. So I am saying, but I am aware of this reaction. I have thrown light on this reaction. Right? I have thrown light on this reaction. So I say, life is Radha, that is the event is Radha. The reaction which I am having full of anger at present, right, is Krishna. Now, in that, I have now tried to expand my consciousness. I have tried to expand my consciousness by bringing in the opposite. So I say the opposite is gentleness. The opposite is gentleness. So I remember, maybe in the early days of my marriage, I may have been gentle to my wife. So I try to remember an instance of gentleness. And I try to hold that feeling of gentleness. So here I am very angry and I am trying to hold gentleness together. I am bringing two opposites together. But still I am not free of that anger. For this moment everything is okay. I have understood everything. My consciousness has expanded. Now what would be the next step? What would be the next step? Just think. Suppose we were to think about what would be the next. Is gentleness really the opposite of violence in this case? Or is it a logical opposite? Is it an opposite in the conventional opposite, the opposite in the logical mind? But real life opposite could be totally different. Try to. Am I coming across? Yeah.
Can you speak your mind out without being violent? So Instead of just not, reacting in a violent way back when there's violence, you speak your mind but in a gentle manner.
Yeah, so I have brought gentleness.
Yeah.
So I have brought in violence and gentleness, the two opposites. So this is the first step we have taken, right? So a beautiful thing what you're saying is that we have not expressed the negative emotion, we have neutralized the negative emotion, but now we want to go one step further, because we realize that still this is the logical mind. The logical mind. In the logical mind, gentleness is the opposite of violence. But when we go beyond the logical mind, then what would be the opposite? What would be the opposite? Am I coming across? See, gentleness is not the cause. Gentleness is not the cause. Violence is a symptom of a cause. Am I getting it? Violence is a symptom of a cause. Gentleness is the medicine just now. Gentleness is the medicine. It is not the, what you call, I am not being free of the cause. The cause is still lying within me. So how will I now, I can see the violence but I cannot see the cause. I cannot see the cause lying within me. So now what will the opposites be? Bring the Bible in. The Bible speaks about this all the time. Bring the Bible in. What does the Bible say? That the eternal fight, the eternal struggle is between, what is the Bible? The eternal struggle is between light and darkness. Is between light and darkness. See, these are the eternal opposites, light and darkness. Right? So, I can see the anger, I can see the violence. I have taken another pendulum and I've said this is gentleness, but these are logical opposites. They are not real life opposites. Real life opposites are only light and darkness. So the anger is in light, but the cause is in darkness. The cause is in darkness. You see all those beautiful stories we used to read when we were children. That there is a wicked king of the kingdom of the dragon and darkness and all that. And then the hero comes, he saves the fairy from the princess. Right? The hero is consciousness. The hero is consciousness. And it is that part of our unconscious mind which I cannot see the cause of that anger, that violence, which is lying in darkness, which I now want to bring in light. Then this will be the real meeting of the opposites. Can you see? Again, I'll talk about it in a different way.
But how can one understand the darkness which one doesn't know of itself?
We are coming to that. We are coming to that.
So what? Isn't there something like where you would recognize something, you do some, you're born, you go through life, you don't have a law book that says if you're going to do this, there is the opposite of that. We weren't born with a man, maybe we should be. So then we're all going to make mistakes, so we're going to go through this path again and again and again.
Definitely.
So isn't there something like how the Muslims go to the Kaaba and listen to the king?
No, there's no pill.
There should be.
There's no pill. You know, you heard of Shakti Path, where many gurus they put the hand and they give energy. And one day I was sitting with my guru, and He's telling me that if this were true, then what is the point in making all this effort? If this were true, what is the point in making all this effort?
Then again, what's the point of our lives when this is what you have to go through again and again and again?
No, but the minute you see that darkness, light goes into the darkness, then that darkness is gone for ever. And that is what I'm trying to bring in over here. Can you see? And we started with the music. The music is Krishna, the breath is Radha. Then I said the event of life is Radha. The inner reaction, anger, is Krishna. Now we are going deeper. The reaction becomes Radha, and the cause of the reaction, which is lying in darkness, becomes Krishna. Can you see? Our observation is now going into deeper levels. But initially, to bring peace over here, what we did, we brought in the logical opposite. The logical opposite is not the real opposite. There are only one set of opposites, and that is light and darkness. And we saw that the anger was in light, but what the real cause of the anger lying inside me is in darkness. And now we are looking for that cause. That cause. Right? So this is the real journey of Radhe Krishna. So we come back to this sudden rush of very violent thinking, right? And what was the real cause? And why it was coming out of the unconscious mind? See, these opposites are at a very superficial level. Violence and gentleness and love and hate, these are all very superficial opposites. Because to picture oneself in gentleness is not going to release you from the cause. It will not bring light into that part of the unconscious mind where there is darkness, which we cannot see. So we will see that where, if we can look inside, we will see something called self-love. Self-love. That this self-love is the cause of this anger. That I love only myself. It is a hidden pattern, something inside, that I am right. He should listen to me. This is the right way of doing things. This is a whole pattern which I have inside, all come under the heading of self-love. He has to agree with me. Now, this self-love was hidden inside. I was not conscious of it. Now I brought in that opposite, but now I bring in another opposite, that is light and darkness. The anger is in light, and suddenly the self-love also comes into light. And that is the cause of anger. And that is the cause of all my violence. And suddenly light has come on. That it is this inner feeling that I am right always. I always do the right thing. Right? And once light falls on that, there is a sudden release. There is sudden freedom from that. So, something of myself which till now I was not conscious of, I now include in the feeling of myself. Now, tomorrow if you contradict me, I know that there is still self-love within me, and from that self-love, a pattern is going to come that he has no right to contradict me, and then that pattern cannot bother me because I know it's lying there. Until that self-love dissolves completely, it is like shooting one arrow into Bhishma. So one incident comes, he gives me an opportunity, he does not agree with me, the self-love comes out, I shoot one arrow into it. And slowly over a period of time, on the 10th day of the war, Bhishma falls. Bhishma falls. But you have to keep on shooting arrows. and keep on shooting arrows into it. This is right observation, what we call as Sudarshan. That is what is meant by Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. Right observation. And this is what all conscious literature has been talking about. Fight against evil and good is nothing but the fight against light and darkness. That side of myself which is in darkness, can I bring it into light? There is no devil who's going to come. But it is, as long as it is in darkness, it is the devil which is controlling me. Darkness means I am not willing to face myself. We refuse to see it. We change the subject.
If you see that anger or that hatred or whatever of yourself in whatever outside of you, how do you deal with it? You just see it.
You don't want to deal with it. The very seeing is light. No need to do anything with it. The very seeing is light. You only don't allow yourself to get hypnotized by it again. And it weakens. One arrow is... Then another incident in life will come. And life is full of incidents which provoke our self-love. Can you understand? Right? You have made a beautiful dinner for your son. Right? And you're saying it's inside you that when he comes he'll eat this dinner, and then he phones and says, I'm going with friends to a restaurant. Now the opportunity has come. The opportunity has come. Right? And it is self-love, my dinner, how can he say no? You understand what I'm trying to say? Right? And this is the opportunity. Shoot one arrow into it. And that arrow is Sudarshan, just right observation. Right observation. And over a period of time it weakens. And when it weakens in every situation in life, you will know what mischief it is going to play. And even before it can play, even before the rumblings of anger come inside, you will know. And you will use that, and you will transform that energy on the spot. Right? So, use situations in life.
In practical life, I'm just taking my own self. You have staff working for you, and then they keep doing the same mistake over and over again. And it does kind of anger you because you don't expect them to do that same mistake over again. So where does self-love come in there? And how do you change or deal with that?
The staff is the staff. My irritation is coming from something inside. Where is it coming from? You see, that irritation definitely is, one symptom of that irritation is that I have forgotten that I am playing a role and I have become the role. Am I coming across?
My irritation is that they're not listening to me.
Yes, now try to see that inside. That who is this that is asking that somebody should listen to me? And there's always a right way. There's always a right way. Just the change of tone of the voice, the bringing in of lower tones. Lower tones have a lot of power. Right? And you play your role properly. You understand what I'm trying to say? But we always go to a high tone. And high tone always creates antagonism. I'll give you one example recently. My cousin dropped me at the Ahmedabad station. I was catching a train to Porbandar. So some VIP was coming. So you know how it is in India when VIP, some minister is coming, everything is on one side and the whole thing is for the minister over there. And he took the car right into that, and then suddenly we were surrounded by police. Right? So we got out of the car, and my cousin was just on the verge. It is our right to, I could sense this, so I just said that, we're very sorry, we did this, and I tried to. And the policeman saying, you have already given him, how can I find you? He picked up our luggage and picked up my luggage and put me onto the platform. You get it? So there's always a right way. There's always a right way. So, and if you bring in lower tones, they always, the other person who is antagonistic, it sort of releases that anger. But higher tone, shrill voice, then he doesn't feel relaxed.
So lower tones are
from the below the navel. You bring in lower tones from below the navel. And that sort of relaxes the other person. Right? And once he's feeling a little relaxed, he'll do anything for you.
What's a lower tone? What's a lower tone?
So, but first, most important is see where the irritation is coming from. The people who are working for you, they have brought it up, now use it. That doesn't mean you don't play your role well in life. Whatever you have to do, get angry, whatever you have to do, you do it and be finished with it. You play your role. But what I'm trying to say is that there is another way also. There's another way of playing the role. You have a business or whatever, you have to play the role. But use that opportunity, don't waste the opportunity. So the more our consciousness widens, the more there is expansion of consciousness, all the opposites will start dropping. We'll start being free of the opposites. And you see, the problem is that we never include self. He is like this or she is like this. We never include self. We don't say, I am irritated. She has done this. But try to bring in self. I am irritated. Now, can I say it is irritated and I am watching the irritation? It is irritated. Divide yourself into I and it. One arrow of attention on the irritation. One arrow on where that irritation, that I am trying to say. I am trying to watch it. Then slowly we are free of this law of the pendulum. We are no longer at the mercy of the pendulum. Right? Then, you see, otherwise, just now it is always I am better than him. See, another exercise which we can do is never take the opposite stance. You understand what I'm trying to say? Say, supposing you are doing a painting. So, now, you are trying to put in one color, then you are putting in another color. Take a conversation as a painting. Right? Now, supposing we are going to have a new PM in India. Right? Now, supposing you say something against him, then our Guruji will get up and say, no, you're wrong. Right? So, this is the opposite stance. This is the opposite stance. Now, in any conversation, don't take the opposite stance. First, pause. Now, try to move with that person for 2 steps.
Is that the same as negative stance?
No, it doesn't. Negative or positive. The very act that you are not reacting is your non-negative. You get what I'm trying to say? Because the conversation ends there. You say, this is right, and I say, this is wrong. And that's the end of the conversation. There's no painting made. There's no creativity out of it. We are not making a canvas. But you say, okay, he's not going to be a good PM. And I also say that it's possible. I mean, nothing changes in life. Then we move 2 steps further. Then suddenly I can say, but he looks quite promising. You get what I'm trying to say. So then now there's a conversation between us. Creative conversation. But if you say something and immediately I say the opposite, that's the end of the matter. Then there's no relationship between us. You see? You get what I'm trying to say. Right? So, it's a typical habit of ours. We always take the opposite stance. In any conversation. Now, just bring in consciousness. Right? And move with that person. Otherwise, we are just victims of the law of the pendulum.
Actually, it's a very good attitude.
If he's wrong, so what? So what? Doesn't make any difference. Still, you can make a beautiful painting out of it. No? See, if I am better than him, I am not a fool, then he is a fool. That is what I am trying to say, all the time. That I know better than you. That is what I am trying to say. And the more I love myself, self-love, the more violent I am towards you. If I am right and you are wrong, now the more I love my ego, love myself, that I am right, the more violent I am going to, more aggressive I am going to be about you being wrong. Can you see the opposite stance over here? And the more hate it will create. Now, is truth important or is love important? Because love is truth. And truth which comes from the ego is not truth. Can you see? It is a lie. However true it may be. Because truth has to be soaked in love. Without love there can be no truth. So, if I speak the truth and it's going to create hate between us. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, whatever that truth has no value because it has created hate. The end result is hate. And truth cannot create hate. I don't know if I... You get it? So, and in that sudden moment I go in and I see that all this aggressiveness, all this I am right, all this is just coming out of this self-love, this feeling that I am superior than somebody else. And in that very light it pauses, it stops over there. It may not go for some time, but as I continue this exercise, it's slowly going to vanish. Right? Then my acting with you will be out of real gentleness, out of seeing the truth of the thing, seeing that this is coming out of a feeling of inner superiority. You get? And then I'll say, he is also a fool, I am also a fool. You see, that's balanced. There's nothing to be proved over here. Right? So we always can start that never take the opposite stance. And just to do that, we will have to bring in consciousness. I'm a little late today. Yes, sir.
In the example you gave, a person would be at 2 states, the emotional state and the motor state. Now, if you are highly agitated, how will you bring a person down to a level where you can use the intellectual state to put light on whatever the problems are?
I haven't understood.
Look,
Go a little slow.
okay.
The South African accent.
About a week ago you mentioned 4 states.
4 states of consciousness.
Intellectual, emotional, motive, and...
No, those are the centers, I
It's
guess.
4 centers.
Centers.
So when you are reacting in that violent state, That's from a highly agitated.
Yeah, you are in the negative part of the emotional side.
Right.
Right.
And obviously the motor state. Now, how would you bring consciousness to it and bring that emotional state down to a level where you can throw light on whatever is the cause of your Radhe effect?
Right. So, first is we start with the rhythmic.
Yeah, but I mean, you are so agitated, you don't even have time to even think about it. I mean, you just you will come back to earth.
Right. If we don't have time to pause, also we can do nothing. Then that agitated state is going to take control over.
But you have already taken, and then what would you do?
Don't cry about it. Otherwise we'll fall lower. Don't become guilty. There's nothing like guilt in life. There's remorse. Remorse. Guilt only takes the pendulum back to the other end, and then we are ready for it for the next swing. So don't go into that, don't start taking yourself down low. I did this and it was a mistake, and go and say sorry, then the pendulum is gone to the other end again. And now you're ready to get agitated on somebody else again. So don't do that. But remorse is something where you burn inside. You burn inside and you hold that fire inside. Don't express it to anybody. The minute you express it to anybody, the fire is gone. Right? And you hold that fire. That is what we call as tap. Remorse of conscience. And just hold it for some time. That this has happened and it has created a friction within you. You already got agitated, does not matter. Now hold it for some time. Right? And just be with it. Don't judge it. Don't say, why did I do this? It's already happened, accept the fact. Right? And don't bring any thoughts of past or future, otherwise you will escape from it. And in that very holding of the fire, a lot of impurity will be burnt. And the next time it happens, maybe consciousness will come in at some point. And the minute consciousness comes in at some point, you're suddenly aware of one end of the pendulum. That I am angry. I am in a state of anger. Now can I work? I can tense my muscles, tense my teeth, right? So that gives me a little space to work with it. I can bring my breathing into rhythm. Again, it gives me a little more space to work with it. And then I try to say that, okay, this anger is there, but I'm not going to express it on anyone else. At least that is the first step. That creates will inside. Right? And once will is created, then something from the will is created in the emotional center. Right? And then we start working. And a point comes where we are free of that also. But unless there's remorse inside, if I'm very happy to get angry on everybody, there's no remorse. There must be pain inside that, okay, I did it. But don't let that pain go into guilt. Don't say I'm a very bad person and I should not have done it and I won't do it again, because you know you're going to do it again. So don't go into guilt. But burn inside. That is tough. In that very fire, a lot of things happen. Fire separates. Fire separates. We express the fire. We go and tell somebody, I did this and I should not have done it. And then the fire is gone. Don't throw away the fire.
Is there a difference between unconscious and subconscious?
Yes, sir. Shall I take it tomorrow, dear? I think we are way past our time. I'll take it tomorrow, dear. There is a subconscious mind, a conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. The main person who has made these divisions is Kali Yoga. But it's sort of generally accepted. We'll try to talk about it tomorrow. When do we want to take the Law of fate, law of destiny.
That is right.
Huh?
That is law of destiny, right? Karma.
Correct. Tomorrow or day after tomorrow? Tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. We take it tomorrow. Yeah.
Maybe you can answer this question tomorrow, but I'd like you to give me an example of the opposite. So today we spoke about from the violence, the violent, and then looking for the truth in the light, or like the opposite. How can you, if you're very happy, how can you look? What are you seeking for in the darkness?
No. Supposing I'm with a friend and I'm very happy, right? Now, if I have double thinking, if I've trained myself to double thinking, right? Then I will see that there are times when I'm not happy. I may be with another friend and I'm not happy. Can you see? Now, I'm happy just now, but if this friend says something which I don't like, or he does something which I don't like, then immediately that happiness will go inside, and that which is already lying in me, the unhappiness will come on the outside. And if I have seen this, then it doesn't upset me at all. It doesn't disturb my inner state. I remain happy because I know this has come from me. His provoking me is just an excuse for this to go in and that to come out. I know the law of the pendulum. You see? And because man is mechanical, he is going to do something which I don't like. No, he is not going to do everything I like. Is it possible? It's not possible. He cannot do everything I like. He's going to do something which I don't like. And at that moment I'm going to get irritated. And that happiness is going to go in and the state of irritation will come out. But if I know the law of the pendulum, I know this is the law. This law is going to make him do something. Just so that the pendulum can turn. Can you see how events are related? Suddenly we've understood why outer events happen for the pendulum to turn inside. Then life becomes very easy. Very easy. The very understanding of this. Okay, we'll stop here. Jai Shri Krishna. Good night. Breathe with the music. Feel the breath as it moves in and out. The breath merges with the blood and moves throughout the body. Sense this, feel this. We'll relax the body, using our attention to relax the body. Take your attention to the head. Relax the head. Keep breathing with the music. Relax the forehead, the two eyes and around the eyes. The ears, the nose, the two cheeks. There's a lot of tension in the cheeks. Relax the cheeks. The two lips, the teeth, chin. Loosen the jawbone. Relax the neck. The two shoulders, there's a lot of tension in the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. The two hands. The back. The chest. The stomach. The legs. Feel the emptiness of the body, just the breath moving in and out. Totally relaxed. Now in this deep emptiness, fill it with your own presence. Your presence comes from a higher dimension. Let the presence fill the body, let it occupy the body. Hold the presence, I am. I am now. Feel the presence, feel the heaviness of the presence. See how when the presence is there, all past and future disappear. The presence is in some other dimension of time. Feel the presence. All worries, all tensions, all wounds of the past, everything disappears with the coming of presence. I am there, so what is there to worry? Feel the breath, feel the presence. The breath is in the present moment. Presence is in eternity. Hold both the feelings together. Breath and presence. The presence of our presence in the present. Slowly the music will switch off. Keep holding the two feelings. The feeling of breath in the present moment, the feeling of presence in eternity. Presence is God. Presence is Purush. Breath is Prakriti. We are together for 1.25 hours. Try to hold your presence throughout this session. My Guru never used to take any questions on karma. So I know he must be laughing now that this guy has gotten himself into a trap. You would say, Bhari prashna na pucho. This concept, which is in all the religions except for Hinduism maybe, that there's someone out there who dishes out rewards for good deeds and punishes you for bad deeds. It's something like that in all the religions. The Hindus don't talk about this. They say there is a law. If you're going for a walk, then if you're balanced inside, if the thinking center is balanced, the emotional center is balanced, the moving center is balanced, your movements are rhythmic, the breath is rhythmic, then you'll enjoy the walk. You'll enjoy the feel of the breeze, the wind, you'll enjoy the chirping of the birds, you'll enjoy the scenery, your sensitivity will be heightened. So, if you're balanced, the walk is a good walk, it's an enjoyable walk. But if you're not balanced, then you're going to fall down. Say if we are drunk and we go for a walk, then we're going to fall down and break a bone. Right? So, and when spirituality talks about drunkenness, they're talking about psychological drunkenness. Maybe I'm drunk with greed and I'm taking a walk, then I'm going to fall down somewhere. Somewhere I'm going to get hurt on the way. Maybe I'm drunk with desire. I'm bound to get hurt. People expect so much from life. They expect life to do everything good for them. And they're going to get hurt, they're going to feel pain. That's the law. I may be drunk with anger. I may be hypnotized by the events of life. I may be drunk with jealousy. So I'm going to fall down and get hurt. So the Hindus just say it is a law. If you're balanced, the walk is enjoyable. If you're not balanced, the walk is pain. That is all the Hindus talk about. There's no God over there who says that good karma leads to pleasure and bad karma leads to pain. And he's not dishing out these rewards over there. Now, on the path, like you have slang. So, the students on the path, the disciples, they call this the law of gravitation. The earth has a sphere of gravitation. When a rocket wants to go out of the earth's orbit, it has to escape that field of gravitation. Similarly, the disciple wants to rise in consciousness. But every time he tries to rise, something pulls him down. And this is the law of gravitation. So on the path we call it the law of gravitation. It keeps pulling us down. We keep on trying to remain in the present moment. But this law of karma takes us into the past and takes us into the future. It keeps making us swing like the pendulum. And there's a great effort in this escape from this law of gravitation. It takes years of practice. But there is an escape. And slowly the disciple leaves the law of gravitation and he moves into something called the law of magnetism. And things start crystallizing inside. Things start changing automatically. They say every element contains magnetism, but it can only be seen in eye. Why can't we see it in other elements? Because the atoms which are inside the elements, the positive neutralizes the negative. But when we magnetize iron, all the positive go on one side and all the negative go on the other side. And so we are able to see magnetism in iron. Similarly, in our personality we have so many eyes. And each eye desires something else. One eye wants to be here, But one eye is thinking of what's going on at home. Another eye is thinking of what's going on at work. Another eye is saying, I've heard all this before. Right? So all these eyes are neutralizing each other. Each is clashing with the other. That is why the eye which wins, we go in that direction. And this is the story of our life. In the morning I decide that in the evening I'll sit for meditation. So one eye has decided. But in the evening the friends come, the new movie has come in town. Right? So forget the meditation. Now somebody else is in charge of the guest house. Go and see the movie. So which eye wins? And each eye's will clashes against the other. So as we practice self-observation, we start freeing ourselves from this law of gravity. And slowly all the eyes start coordinating with each other. That which is contradictory inside starts becoming complementary inside. And an inner magnetism is formed. Now, this disciple now will escape from the law of gravity and he'll move into another dimension. Then he does not have to make an effort in the events of life. The events of life will come to meet him the way it is necessary for his growth. Then the effort becomes more spontaneous. It becomes more easy. It becomes more enjoyable. He has escaped from that law. And one day he comes into another magnetism. Sitting in all of us is the divine somewhere. And the divine has its own gravitational field. And once we come into that gravitational field, the disciple comes under the law of grace. Then the divine pulls him. He has not to do anything. Then all effort ceases over there. Then the divine decides for him. So these three laws. So in discipleship terminology, we call this law of karma, the law of gravity. Now, can we see that we are ruled by the past? Our body is in the present here, but we are never here. We can't hold our consciousness here for more than a fraction of a second. It slips away. Something is pulling it out of the present moment. And we keep on trying to hold it. That is why we use techniques, rhythmic breathing. If we are breathing in rhythm, at least our consciousness is here. So we never experience this fleeting thing which we call the present moment. Life moves in a certain line. If you want me to draw it, tell me. It moves in a certain line. We live in two dimensions of time at the same time, simultaneously. One is a horizontal dimension of time from birth to death. This is the line of our personality. But before we were born, something which was not a part of this dimension of time. It is not a part of this line from birth to death. It wears certain clothes which we call a physical body, and it comes into this line of time because of that physical body. But it can never become a part of this line of time. It is always a part of another dimension of time which we call eternity, Shaswata. Now, these two times meet in man. This is what we mean by the cross, the symbol of the cross. There's a horizontal dimension to man, there's a vertical dimension to man. And each moment of life, these two dimensions are there. I remember 4 years ago, we were lucky to see a private exhibition of Salvador Dali's paintings. And there was one huge painting of Christ on the cross. And Dali has put these nails in his hands, in Christ's hands. And there's no blood in the whole painting. And I mean, what he must have seen to paint something like this, that the nails are in his hands, but there is no blood. Definitely blood must have flown from Christ's hands. So he's trying to give a message that even in such a state, he was on the cross, the nails were in his hand, he was in so much of suffering, but there was no complaining. Dali is trying to tell us, and he must have seen this in a very high state of consciousness. This cross is straight, but the body of Christ is falling to the ground, like this. So he's saying there are two dimensions. The body is in the horizontal dimension, it's going to fall to the ground. But there's something which is not the body, and it is going to rise up. So man has these two dimensions of time in him. The vertical dimension, the horizontal dimension. Anything done in the horizontal dimension is not spirituality. Anything, whether going to the temple, whether doing puja, whether doing bhajan, whatever you do, anything done in the horizontal dimension is not spirituality. Because it does not touch that which is not in this horizontal dimension, that which is in the vertical dimension of time. I'll draw this on the board.
Right. See, this is birth, this is death. We are moving in this dimension of time. Right. But that which was before birth and which is after death is not a part of this dimension of time. It can never become a part of this dimension of time. Now, that which was there before birth and after death, we will call it as essence. And it comes in this dimension through a set of clothes. It cannot come just like that in this dimension of time. It needs a set of clothes. It has to wear a space suit to go into outer space. Similarly, to come into this dimension of time with the five senses, it needs a physical body. So it comes into this dimension through acquiring a physical body. It comes in this dimension of time to learn. It has come to train itself for something. It's come in the school of life. This is its school it's come in. Right? It's come in the school of life. Now, because it is in this line of time contains moments of time. And I'm not going to go in how the present moment is made. I've talked about it many times. Right? It is called moments of time. But each moment of time, because that essence is there, is a cross section. It is vertically bisected by that essence. Now try to understand this. This essence we will call as presence. The exercise we were trying to do just now. Presence. Now to change this essence, we have to be in the present moment. Only then can we connect to the essence, to this dimension of time. If we are before or after the present moment, then we never connect. Right? Each event of life, if it comes in and we vomit it out in a reaction, then we go to a lower dimension of time. If we vomit it out in a reaction, you say something, before consciousness can come in, I react to it. I throw it out, then I throw it, but I may be in a state of daydreaming or brooding. Brooding in the past, daydreaming in the future about the lottery I'm going to win tomorrow. Right? So then I'm never here. So the events of life are coming in, but nothing is happening to the essence. It is not getting trained in anything. To be trained, you have to bring your consciousness to the present moment. Unless that happens, Nothing changes the essence, and if the essence does not change, whatever we have done nothing. Right? Please try to understand this. So we are always before or after the present moment, and that law which does not allow us to remain in the present moment is the law of karma. See, we live in the past. We appear to be in the present. But this is only an appearance, our body over here. We pass through the present, but we are always rooted in the past. This ordinary consciousness is not trained to be in the present. It takes a lot of training to hold it in the present moment. And that is why I keep on emphasizing, please practice the rhythmic breathing. Because it is that which trains the consciousness to be there when the event of life is happening. So for our consciousness, as it is now, the past is real, the future is real, the present is totally unreal. And future is nothing but a repetition of the past. So whatsoever we have done, whether good or bad, see, the disciple is not interested in if he does good deeds, he's going to get pleasure tomorrow. If he does bad deeds, he's going to get pain. He's not interested. He's interested in freeing himself of this law of gravitation. It's a totally different thing. And you cannot calculate, I'll do a good deed so I'll get this tomorrow. It's not possible. So everything repeats, and it is this law of repetition that forces us to repeat. We cannot be in the now. That doesn't allow us to be in the now. The anger keeps on adding up and repeating, the irritation, and we keep on becoming a victim of it. This is the law of karma. Now, can we find the right way to deal with the actual situation of life, moment to moment, as it comes to meet us? The right way, right action. This is karma yoga. What is the right action in this moment? What is the right action in this moment? So, when we are talking about yoga, we are talking of the actual situation of life. Every moment as life comes to meet us. And what are we doing? How are we karmically relating to life? Now, without being in a state of self-observation, this is the basic necessity to practice karma yoga. And I find it's so funny. I see people on TV, there are people talking about karma, giving big theories about karma, and none of them are grounded in this self-observation. How can you talk about karma? The first step towards karma yoga is that there is a separation in myself. There is an observing side and there is an observed side. Only then can karma yoga begin. Otherwise it can never begin. We must be divided into two, an observing side and an observed side. This is the beginning of self-consciousness. The absence of this condition is what Patanjali calls avidya. Yeah.
I don't know if it's related to this, but near-death experiences, if one is going on the spot in the horizontal timeline, right? So this person is not a spiritual person, maybe, I don't know, but for any reason they then have an out-of-body experience. This is what you read, and you find them going to another dimension. So they have without having woken on the path, have transcended the law of gravitation into another law, the law of maybe divinity or magnetism, I'm not sure, because they speak of this world which is so beautiful and so divine, with lots of unconditional love. This is what you hear, and then they brought back. So how is that?
There are some people who talk about it, yes. And there are also other people who find it to be it's full of suffering also. Right? So many Christians have talked about it, where they find it is, the suffering of the soul. So, you're very true, because at the point of death, where are we? We are just going a little out of this. Can you see, where are we at the point of death? No. See, if we talk of time, and time will be moving fastest at the point of death. At the point of death. Now, how are we patterned? How are we patterned? So the first pattern which is given to us is of the 5 tattvas, the 5 elements. So at the point of death, the 5 elements are taking their sanskar back. So all our karma is made of 5 elements. So at that moment of death, everyone free of charge is free of karma. Am I coming across? Because the patterns have gone back. And the patterns, you see, this physical body was patterned by the 5 tattvas. And now the physical body has to disintegrate. So the 5 tattvas take this pattern back, they take this sanskar back. Right? And in that, then for some time there is freedom from karma. And because karma is the sanskars are the only veil covering the inner divine. So that veil lifts. And if that person can keep his eyes open, he sees light and he sees beauty and he sees, you get it? But that does not mean it will last. It does not mean it will last. Then he goes through a process. And again the patterns come back. But they come back as an essence. You understand what I'm trying to say? If I have got angry 1,000 times in this life, 1,000 angers don't go. They go as one essence, one drop of perfume. You get it? So the patterns are going to go as an essence. The essence will carry forward. But for that 1 hour in time, the 1 hour after that is why the 1 hour after death is the most important. The soul is totally free. And if the eyes, the inner eye, not these eyes, if the inner eye is open, then he can see the light, he can experience the light. If he's done yoga, he can hold on to it also. So, you're right, in many of these near-death experiences, they do see light. If you practice in your dreams, in your sleep, you will also be able to go and come back. You don't need a near-death experience. You'll be able to consciously do it. You get it? So actually sleep, what is sleep? Sleep is just a practice for death. So, and the light has another function to perform. Can you say something about that? Just relate it to your normal life. What happens with light? We forget. Say I'm dreaming in the morning. The minute I open my eyes, there's an invasion of light. And what happens? I forget the dream. I forget the dream. You understand? Now, similarly, nature has made this. She knows that one memory has to be cut off. The memory of this life has to be cut off. Right? So, at the moment of death, there's an influx of light. And in that influx of light, we forget the memory of this life, like we forget the dream every morning. You understand? Now, again, there is a memory, something goes through that period of between death and birth. The essence does go through that period. It does form a body in 9 months in the mother's womb. Right? But the minute the child opens its eyes and cries, it's forgotten all that's happened in the 9 months. You see? Or in that intervening period. Again, there's an influx of light. So, this is nature's, medium of, forgetting, cutting off. It's the way of doing it. So, you're right about that. But there is a conscious way where you can continue with your consciousness. You can cheat nature. And the body can fall and there can be a continuity in consciousness. If you've practiced in certain levels of sleep, in certain levels of the dream, then maybe there'll be unconsciousness for some time, but again the consciousness will come back. Try to understand this. That I go to sleep, there's a break in consciousness. But suddenly I become aware in the dream. You're getting what I'm trying to say? So now the break in consciousness is less. I may break, at the moment of death there may be a break in consciousness. But supposing I'm in a 45-day or 55-day dream after that, after the first hour after death, then if I practice waking up in the dream, maybe I'm awake there. And that's, you've got your consciousness much before coming out of the mother's womb. You understand what I'm trying to say? So there will be that small break. There won't be a bigger break. So where does the continuity come in? And this all comes through practice. Yeah.
You said that the essence is carried forward, right? But the essence tainted by the experiences of the past life? Is it tainted in any way, or is it pure when it goes from this life to the next life?
For that 1 hour, the essence is pure. You understand what is happening? And I'm getting into something totally different. See, for the moment of death,
I'm getting into uncharted territory. Okay, man is Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. Right? 3 parts of man. This dies. Right? This dies. This remains somewhere. The light comes from this. And this travels. This travels. this is bound by karma. This is not bound by karma. Right? When this is free of karma, it can merge back into this. So it is this which is bound. The body has its own karma. When it's hungry, it eats. Right? But that is different. It is this which is bound. Right? And it is this which travels. Now, at the point of death, this spirit does not travel, so it remains in Swaha. It remains over there. Right? And because this is traveling, then this falls down from Swaha. So at the point of death, all this happens in 1 hour. That is why we have light in that 1 hour. Because the spirit remains over here and then the soul falls down into the dream world. And it goes through a long dream and it passes through so many different stages where all the patterns come back. You understand what I'm trying to say? All the patterns come back. That's it. See.
Uncle Rajan.
Yeah.
I once was told that if a baby comes out through the birth canal as opposed to a C-section, more karma comes with it from the past.
It's not possible. It's not possible. Oh. Certain areas in our body-brain system may be sensitive or less sensitive due to coming out as a C-section or coming out as a natural birth. Maybe medical science may not accept it, but homeopathy definitely says that certain parts of the body are affected by coming out as a C-section. But that is a different thing. It has nothing to do with karma. So the basic condition for karma is what Patanjali calls avidya. Now, avidya we translate, the normal translation is absence of knowledge. But it is not absence of knowledge. Right? Knowledge can be gained mechanically. So, we are reading a book and we are cramming up things, memorizing. Knowledge is all, the knowledge we gain is all mechanical knowledge. It's just information. Right? So, in a state of avidya, we can gain as much knowledge as we want. Avidya is absence of light, absence of the observing consciousness. Avidya. I go to a store, I see something beautiful, I am hypnotized, avidya. Absence of light. You say something to me, I am in a state of reaction, avidya. Absence of light. Right? I read something, it connects with an association in the past, avidya, absence of light. So Patanjali is saying for the law of karma to operate, the basic condition is avidya, which many also translate as unawareness. Right? I will put it that the basic thing is that if there is a state of divided attention, one arrow inside self-consciousness, one arrow on the event of life, we have started freeing ourselves from the law of karma. Right? We are now moving out of the state of avidya. Now Patanjali says, avidya kshetram utre sham. Kshetra means a field. Utre sham. Utre sham is that which follows. That which follows. So I go in the store, I see something, I am hypnotized by it, there is absence of light.
inside. I am in a state of identification. This absence of light, it creates what follows that absence of light. Utresham, what follows is the kshetra of avidya, the field of avidya. Now he says, in this field of avidya, you can plant 4 seeds. You can plant 4 seeds, and karma is born out of these 4 seeds. Am I coming across on this? Right? But the basic condition is avidya. So, even a person who is not in a state of avidya, say we take Gautam Buddha or a Buddha, who is not in a state of avidya, then he will eat, he will sleep, he will do all the actions we do, but there will be no karma. There will be no karma. But because we are in a state of avidya, each moment we are planting one of these seeds, one or more of these 4 seeds, and that is giving rise to the law of karma. Because once you planted the seed, it starts, it sprouts, the roots go in. It is these roots which are called as karma. These 5 are the seeds are called as klesha. And avidya is the main klesh. So avidya is the kshetra. Now, when we go into the sutras on avidya, we'll go deeper into what is avidya. Right? But I just wanted to give you a background because today we are talking about karma. So he says that this is the basic condition. If this condition is not satisfied, we do not create karma. So if we are in a state of consciousness, there is no karma. Gujarati karma. એટલે પતંજલિ કહે છે કે કર્મ કરવા માટે જે બેઝિક કન્ડિશન જે છે એ અવિદ્યાની સ્થિતિ હોવી જોઈએ. એટલે કોન્શિયસનેસનો અભાવ હોવો જોઈએ. અવિદ્યા એટલે પ્રકાશ નથી, વિદ એટલે પ્રકાશ, અવિદ એટલે નો લાઇટ, નો પ્રકાશ. અવિદ એટલે કોન્શિયસનેસનો અભાવ છે. જીવનના હર ક્ષણે ઘટનાઓ સાથે જો હું હિપ્નોટાઇઝ હોઉં, ઘટનામાં ખેંચાઈ ગયો હોઉં, તો કોન્શિયસનેસનો અભાવ છે, અવિદ્યાનો ક્ષેત્ર છે. જેવું કોન્શિયસનેસનો અભાવ થાય છે, અવિદ્યાનો ક્ષેત્ર પથરાય છે અને એની અંદર 4 બીજ રોપાય છે. Which seeds are these? These he calls as asmita, the feeling of I. The feeling of I gave him this job. I did this for him. Don't you know who I am? I am a very good engineer or whatever. Right? The feeling of I. This is the first seed, the feeling of I. The second he calls is rag, attachment, attraction, attachment. Out of this feeling of attachment comes my. I and then raga, attachment, mine. This is mine. Right? So, then the opposite of raga, because it is subject to the law of the pendulum, dvesha, repulsion. Right? And both are the same actually. Attraction and repulsion. It's just 2 sides of the pendulum. Mine and not mine. I want and I don't want. I care about and I don't care about. I love and I hate. The normal conventional opposites. Right? So raga, dvesha. And the final seed which he talks about is abhinivesh. Bhi means fear. Now, this word abhi in Sanskrit can also mean not fear, but here it does not mean. Here it means more fear. So, abhi nivesh, fear of death, fear of losing sensual existence, fear that my desires will not be fulfilled. You see, all this is lying within us. Each moment of, we are we are carrying this baggage all the time. There is a fear, will my daughter get a good husband? Will my son get a good job? These fears are lying within us. Will my boss be good tomorrow? So each moment we are carrying these fears, whether they are apparent in the conscious mind or they are lying unseen in the subconscious mind, they are always there. Now, try to see this a little deeper. That I go into a shop, I see something good, I am hypnotized, there's absence of light, and what do I say? I want this thing. Can you see? In that absence of light, the minute the light went away, the minute I was hypnotized, the first thing which was created, I want. The I want. Attachment, raga. And abhinivesh, that I which was created over there, till it gets its pound of flesh is not going to die. It does not want to die till it gets its pound of flesh, which it never gets. Can you see? Every moment this mechanism is working. Right? We say, my son, his exam, he is doing this. And each of these are in operation at that time. The I is there because I and my go together. My son, and there's fear whether he'll pass in his exam or not, whether he'll do good or he'll do bad. So each moment we are sowing these seeds in the field of avidya, and it is these seeds which give rise to the law of karma. There are only 4 seeds. Only 4 seeds. So the normal translation of the word avidya is lack of knowledge, but it means the absence of the light. We are not observing inside. We have not divided ourselves into 2. The observing side, the observed side. And if we are observing, there is light. Then we are not in a state of avidya. Now this will go from different stages. Like yesterday, we talked about observing first the outer event, then the inner reaction, then observing the inner reaction, where it came from. So the light goes into different stages, but at least we've started walking to be free of the law of karma. So 4 બીજ છે કર્મના. અસ્મિતા એટલે અહમ, રાગ એટલે ખેંચાવું ક્યાંય, આસક્તિ, દ્વેષ એટલે અણગમો અને અભિનિવેશ એટલે ભય. આ 4 બીજ છે અને હર ક્ષણે અવિદ્યાની ભૂમિની અંદર આ 4 બીજ જો આપણે રોપતા જાય તો કર્મનો ઝાડ ઉગતો જાય અને આપણે એમાં બંધાતા જાય. Every moment we are taking in some situation in life, some event. And if we are not in a state of inner observation, the event is coming in mechanically. We are seeing it through some attitude, we are seeing it through some prejudice, we are seeing it through some past memory. We are rooted in the past. And now the law has started working. Karma Yoga has nothing to do with changing the situation in life. We don't want to change outside situations. It is changing the way we take the outside situation. At the time of reception of the impression, જ્યારે ઘટના અંદર આવે છે, at the time of reception of the impression of the event of life, are we sowing any of these 4 seeds? Try to be aware of at least this much from tomorrow. Are any of these 4 seeds being sown? And such a situation can only come out of long practice of self-observation. All other talk of karma yoga is nonsense. And people talk about it so freely, from the TV to everywhere. And it's pathological. because there is no inner light. So if we are willing to take this step, any of us, all of us, then we have made the decision to break free of this state of avidya or identification. Right? It is our decision, it is our inner work. We work in ourselves, right? And it is that which can break this state of identification. See, we've heard all this, but how many of us have practiced? How many of us have really divided ourselves into an observing side and an observer side? Have we observed one thing in ourselves today? When we go to sleep today, is there one thing which we can put as a profit today? That this much of profit I got in my business today. One thing. Then we have made some profit. What have we observed? Have we practiced taking in the typical events of life? You don't have to change anything. We are not saying go to an ashram, go to a guru. Not needed. There's no need of going anywhere. No need to read any book. It's just how you take in the typical situations in life. There's no need of a guru. There's no need of a book. No need of any shastra. It's just how you live life. Bring in the pause, bring in consciousness. Stop over there, bring in consciousness. And that is the starting point. If we have really observed ourselves, we will see that everything in our life keeps on recurring. Keeps on recurring. There is nothing like tomorrow in our lives. Nothing new meets us in our lives. Every day, what happened yesterday recurs. It is the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same feelings, the same sensitivities. The outside people change, the places change, the situations change. What we are inside, nothing changes. And this is karma, bound down in the law of gravitation. The same events, the same mechanical psychology goes to meet the events of life and reacts to them. Reaction is the basic symptom of avidya, identification. And the symptoms of reaction are we complain, we blame, or we use the word if only. One exercise which we had to do was we were never allowed to use the word if only. We were never allowed to use it. The minute my guru knew that somewhere we had used the word if only I had met him 5 years earlier. If only I had seen this movie before it got down from the theatre, I would have been a happier man. If only. We were never allowed to use these words. It was a deep practice. Maybe if only I met some other woman. So, these are the symptoms of avidya, of identification. And this is repeated day by day, week by week, year by year, life by life. And the practice of karma yoga is something which we can all very intelligently pick up. Because we don't have to change anything in our life. No ashram, no clothes, nothing has to change. It's the same ordinary, normal life. We take in the same situations and we change everything. And all other forms of yoga, where somewhere the ego comes in, but in karma yoga, best way to do it. Keep a timer, keep a watch with a timer, and let the timer ring 10 times a day, 12 times a day, and just say, am I identified in this moment? Am I observing myself in this moment? Have I divided my attention in this moment? Is one arrow of attention? Just ask yourself these few questions. It takes a few seconds. Keep that timer in your watch. It will keep reminding you that just where are you? Where is your thought? Write it down. After 3 months, you will see that in 3 months, this is all that I've been repeating in these 3 months. This is where my thinking is going all the time. And if we do this, then we will start seeing ourselves uncritically, impartially, just observing what we are. We will feel as if something within us has separated. We are watching from one small side of ourselves, and something the other side of ourselves has separated, and we are watching from that. It is observing the rest. And we will see how every recurring situation, how every typical event in life hypnotizes us, how we react to it. And in that moment, remember the future. I'm not saying remember the past, remember the future. That if I react now, I will be hypnotized to react again in the future. I am sowing the seed. This is karma. If we react in the same mechanical way, we are sowing the seed to be mechanical again in the future. We have not done anything for our freedom. So we don't change life, we change our relationship to life. We approach life from a conscious viewpoint. Now karma is a web of cause and effect. Please sit today so I can finish this today. Otherwise I don't want to break this up into 2 parts. It is deeply connected to the laws we live in. Now, I've divided karma, not I've divided, but the teaching which I've got, we divide it into 4 laws.
The first is the law of accident. The law of accident. All of us are bound by this law, the law of accident. We feel we are conscious, but it's the biggest illusion we have. After every war, people say this is the last war humanity has ever fought. Right? And after every cigarette, I say this is the last cigarette I'll ever smoke. Right? We feel we have something like free will, have nothing. So we are moving on this line. And this is the line of accident. Everything in our life is an accident. Each moment we are hypnotized by the events of life. We are hypnotized by our reactions to them. We are hypnotized by our thinking, right? By our thoughts, by our attitudes, by everything inside. So everything that happens in life just happens. We don't do anything. We feel, we live under the illusion that we do, right? And this is the law of accident. And what is the symptom of the law of accident? The symptom of the law of accident. What is the symptom of the law of accident? I just talked about it. Complaining, blaming, if only. These are the 3 symptoms. That an accident has happened. Right? If an accident has not happened, then there is no reason to complain. And there is something more called a buffer, but because I have not talked about it, I'll just explain it in this thing that if I lose money in business, then I create a buffer. You know what is a buffer? Something to absorb the shock between the 2 railway bogies. There's something to absorb the shock. It's called a buffer. So I create a buffer. Okay, Bhagwan ni ichha thi etle paisa gaya. This is called a buffer. Right? So these 4 things, they are the symptoms that I am in the law of accident. Just think today, have I complained about anything? Accident. Right? Have I blamed anybody for anything? Even the government. Maybe you can, store your blaming in a safe deposit, because now the new government, so you can now blame it after 6 months or something. So have I blamed anyone for anything? Have I had a thought today that in life at this point, if this had not happened, then this would have happened? These are all symptoms that I have identified to life. I have not accepted the fact, and have non-acceptance of the fact, I have fallen down, I have had an accident. I lost money in my business, I went into depression, accident. Right? Law of accident. And we are moving along this law. This is our line of time. Now, all the events which come to meet us will come in a certain spectrum. Each of us have something called being, our presence, being. And the events of life which come to meet come according to the level of my being. It has a spectrum. It has a spectrum, right? This spectrum can invite events of a higher quality to a certain kind and events of a lower quality to a certain kind, and it is only these kind of events which will come to meet me. If I want to change my events in life, I have to change my spectrum, right? But if I keep on trying to change outer events, nothing is going to change. Now, how do I do this? Now, previously we've talked about being. What does being contain? Essence. Then personality. Very good. And false personality. False personality. Now, this is my being. Each moment of life, events are coming to meet me. They come to the personality. They come to the personality. Does the personality give it to the essence, or does the personality give it to the false personality, the imaginary side, the real side of us, the acquired side of us, the false side of us? We have three sides. Real, which was there before death. Acquired, that which was gathered from life. All my education, all what I am is everything which is acquired. It is not real. It is not real. I may have 101 degrees. They are not real. Right? They are acquired. Right? And the false side of me, the imaginary side. I may imagine I am a big teacher. Right? The false side. The false side of me. Now, which side is becoming stronger? Each moment of life. Right? If the false personality is becoming stronger, I am going deeper and deeper into the law of karma. And this is what happens with all of us.
Yeah. When you go deeper in the law of karma, does that mean that your end product is destiny? Or is it not?
Those events are going to come to meet you. If you talk about destiny, only that spectrum of events can come to meet you. Right?
So why do people put it down as destiny? Is it just, they'll say that it was my nasib, it was my destiny.
That is what I said, that is a buffer.
Okay, so that's the buffer.
That is a buffer. I can't absorb the pain. I can't hold the pain, so I said it was my nasib. Right? It's an escape route. I don't want to face the pain. I don't want to hold the pain. Right? So I'll say, okay, God decided that I should play the races. Huh? આપણા હોવાપડાના 3 ભાગ છે. એક જે જન્મ પહેલાનો છે, જે આ જીવનના પાઠશાલામાં ભણવા આવેલો છે. એ ભણવા આવે છે પછી આ જીવનમાંથી કંઈક મેળવે છે, ભણતર મેળવે છે, મા બાપ મેળવે છે, સોસાયટી મેળવે છે, ઘણું બધું મેળવે છે. અને એક જે તદ્દન કાલ્પનિક છે. હવે હું ભણીને એન્જિનિયર બનું તો એ અક્વાયર્ડ છે, પર્સનાલિટી છે, બરાબર? પણ હું બહુ સારો એન્જિનિયર છે એ કલ્પના છે. એ કલ્પના છે. રાઈટ? અને આનું આપણને ક્યાં ખબર પડે? કોઈક આપણા એન્જિનિયરપણુંનું ક્રિટિસિઝમ કરે તો આપણે એને ઉપર ગુસ્સે થશું ના કે ભાઈ હું બહુ સારો એન્જિનિયર છું. રાઈટ? Okay, so આપણા 3 ભાગ છે. As long as the false personality is becoming powerful, and this is true for spirituality too. Please understand this. Because you come over all these spiritual organizations, they're a mess. They're a mess. Oof. And they have all these do's and don'ts. Terrible. And they can't understand the basics of spirituality. In spirituality, there's nothing like don't do this and do this. It's not possible. Because you're talking of the absolute freedom. Right? And if you're binding a person from here, it's all a part of false personality. Everything is false. They have all these dictates. Spirituality is a self-discipline, something which grows from inside. Right? You understand it, that's why you don't do it. Not because somebody has dictated to you, you don't do it.
And Rajan, why is it that in Hinduism, with the basic truths, there's such a split with various organizations, like you have Radhe Yoga, or you have Shri Yoga, you have this and you have that, and they have the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, the do's and don'ts.
But it's all stemming from Hinduism, so who then brought it to this level where it is so contaminated?
So when the original Guru is there, there are very few do's and don'ts. See, in Buddha's time, he did not want to bring women into the Sangha. Right? Buddha. He did not want to bring women into the Sangha. Now I told you that story that day, that he crossed the river and this girl came and gave him kheer. Right? Sujata. She was a young girl. She was the daughter of the Mukhya of the village. And that girl, when she grew old, she came to Buddha and said that, I want to join the Sangha. You get it? And he had to open the Sangha for women also. So, I'm talking about a new man today, who is not bogged down by any religion, any fixed organization, who's living his daily life and still can rise to a state much higher than all this. Just living his normal life. If he's practicing karma yoga inside, in his relationships will be bhakti. In his thinking will be Raj Yoga. In his movements there will be Kriya Yoga. Not one yoga, a balanced man. Where we don't divide between Raj Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and this yoga. No one-sidedness. A totally harmonious human being. Which has not happened till now. Right? And today's brain is ready for that. Today's man is ready for that. Now we can't make these divisions. And it has to be in our daily life. There's no need of going to an ashram or anything. Just in our normal daily living, how we take in the events of life, how the inner transformation comes. Without changing anything. Right? So I'm just trying to give you a science of that. It is possible. Anyway, we are under the law of accident, and it is myself which is taking me along this line of time. Can you see in this line of time all the events are already predestined by my spectrum? They are already predestined by my spectrum. Right? Now, at this point, something comes to meet me and I bring in consciousness. I bring in consciousness. What have I done? What have I done? I have escaped from the accident. I have escaped from the accident. Right? So, at this point, something came in, I brought in consciousness, the accident is not going to happen, I am not going to get hypnotized by the event, right? Now, some reaction was destined to happen in this moment in time, according to my spectrum, either anger, either jealousy, some reaction that was my destiny, which was going to meet me at that point in time. And if that destiny had happened, I would have fallen under the law of accident. But now I'm conscious there and I'm observing that which is coming to hypnotize me. I'm observing it and I'm freeing myself of it. I'm no longer under the law of accident. I rise to another law, the law of cause and effect. Have you understood this? This moment, I'm suddenly getting this surge of anger. And I pause over there. I separate from that anger. I'm observing that anger. That anger dies out. I don't become a victim of that anger. I freed myself from the law of accident. And I come under a new law. How do I come under this new law? Why is it called cause and effect? See, if I had got angry now, in this moment, I was bound to get angry in future. What would that mean for the events of the future? What would it mean? What would it mean for the events of the future? How is my destiny sure? Only that event will come which is going to make me angry. Can you see? The event which I am going to invite for tomorrow, day after, because the anger has repeated, only such an event will come in my life which will provoke the anger. And again it will repeat and another event will come to provoke the anger. And this is my destiny. Only those events will come. That quality of event which can provoke anger. Am I now coming across in this? Now at that moment I freed myself of that anger. That anger transformed, it died out, whatever. I have sown a new seed. That very action of mine has sown a new seed. Tomorrow is going to be different. It cannot be a repetition of today because now that anger cannot repeat. I have sown a new seed for a new effect. Now the event which was going to come tomorrow to provoke that anger cannot come. My tomorrow is different. A new event in life is going to come to meet me. Am I now coming across? I have escaped from one law of karma, come into another law of karma called the law of cause and effect. And each moment as I increase my consciousness, I escape from this and I come into this. And I then come into a new law. The law of fate. Or will. There's one more law of this, we'll talk about it later. What would this mean? What would this mean? What would it mean? And you see, each moment now we are sowing new seeds, which are giving rise to new effects in the future. And those seeds are being sown consciously, each moment of our life. So we've come under the law of cause and effect. And as we proceed along this law, suddenly a new knowledge comes. This knowledge is not from books. This knowledge is from our sadhana, real knowledge. What comes? Tell me. What comes? What kind of jnana do we get? What knowledge do we get? We see the relationship of what is happening inside and what kind of events we attract in life. What kind of events we attract in life. We know that today I got irritated on him, and I know that because of this irritation, tomorrow this has to happen. This is the law. Suddenly now the whole law is opened up. So you can will your destiny. And now coming across, you can now will your destiny. You can decide what events you want should come to meet you in your life by changing your inner state. By changing, you go to a higher level of your spectrum, you invite that quality of events. You go to a lower level of your spectrum. Suddenly the whole law has opened up to you. This whole law of cause and effect. It's the law of fate. You now have something called will inside. You can will it away. And this is very, very powerful.
Now, people normally say that that's my fate. They actually...
That is fatalistic. This is not fate, that fate. This is a deep knowledge of the law of life.
But is in that case, if somebody says that, are they saying fate and destiny is the same?
No, I'm coming to one more law. I'm coming to one more law. That is why I've taken destiny out of this. I've taken destiny out of this. Coming to one more law. Right? So this is the law of will, you can call it. That you can will whatever you want in your life. Right? You want to stop your thoughts, you can will it. Anger comes, you can will the anger away. Right? So each moment you can will what you want, and that can invite a separate event in life. You've learned the science, you've seen you've gained this knowledge. Now this knowledge is in no books. It cannot be written in any books. It can only come from self-observation, going deeper into self-remembering. And the final law. Already in this law we are free of karma. We are already free of karma. The final law is the law of destiny. There is one Shastra which explains the law of destiny. Which is that? Which is that? Which is a drama of the law of destiny. Which is that Shastra? It is a drama of the law of destiny. The Ramayana. The Ramayana.
Right? It is a drama of the law of destiny. Right? Now, you have the power to will any event in your life, but you even now let go of that power. So Ram knows that Ravan is going to take Sita, but he does not stop it. He does not will it away also, even though he had the power to will it away. And then he moves into the law of destiny, again living like an ordinary man, accepting the events of life as they come. But now it's no longer an accident for him. It's in a totally different state. Can you understand this? So we were first in the law of accident. We started sowing different seeds of consciousness to be free of that law. Went into the law of cause and effect. A new knowledge came to us, the understanding of the inner science and the outer events. With the law of will, we could will any event in our life, and then we drop the will also and just lead a normal life. The law of destiny. We don't want to change anything. Everything is right as it is.
When is destiny negative? When is destiny negative?
In what sense?
You know, I went to a lecture and then it was karma and destiny, and all the points on destiny were all negative, whereas karma was positive. So I couldn't. That's why I asked you. I couldn't quite understand because I saw the link between the two. I don't know if I'm.
So if you practice karma yoga, the destiny can never be negative. Right? But if you are in the law of accident, everything is negative.
So you need to understand that.
Right? But if you've sown a new seed, then what is going to come will be positive. It will not be an accident. Now we'll just take this up. Try to see that I'm moving on this line, the law of accident. And say the events of life come to meet me according to a spectrum. So at this point there is a possibility that death will come. Right? Or an accident will come. But now I've sown a new seed and moved to another line. So I will bypass this, because this event now the events in my life have changed. Death may come somewhere else. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because something inside of me has changed, the outer events are going to change. Now I'll just quickly, before I'll just explain these sutras very fast. So Patanjali is saying in the first sutra, Klesha Mula Karma Ashaya Drashta Adrashta Janma Vedanya. Now, if you have sown one of these seeds, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh or Abhinivesh, any of these 4 seeds, then these seeds are going to give roots. These roots are the resting place. Klesha Mula Karma Ashay. The root is the resting place of karma, the library of Ashay, the resting place of karma. So from the root, the tree will grow, the fruit will come, the fruit will have new seeds. So whether it is the root or whether it is the fruit, it is the same thing. Both are the resting place of karma. Now whenever this karma operates, it is drashta adrashta janma vedanya. We talked about this yesterday, where we talked about anger and bringing in an opposite called gentleness. But that does not bring about the root of that anger, which is my self-love, my ego inside. Am I now coming? So what he's saying, in the operation of this karma, some things are seen, some things are not seen. Drashta, adrashta. Some things are seen, some things are not seen. So the anger was seen, the cause of anger was not seen, the root was not seen, the fruit was seen. Am I coming across? But he's saying Janma Vedanya. That Vedanya means worth seeing,
that also which is not seen is also worth seeing. So he said, Klesha Mula, Klesh is the seed, Klesh is the mool, the root, Karma Ashay, the fruit, but both are the same. The root is the fruit, what he's saying. Klesha Mula, Karma Ashay, but a part is seen, a part is unseen. That which is unseen is also worth seeing. Sati Mule, next sutra is Sati Mule Tad Vipake Jati Ayu Bhoga. As long as the root is there, Sati Mule, as long as the root is there, there is going to be fruition. The fruit is going to become fruit. There, Tad Vipake, it will move towards fruition. As long as the root is there, it will move towards fruition. Tad Vipake. And what is that Vipak? And here he doesn't use the word pak, he uses Vipak. Vipak means a perverted way of fruition. Vichitra, pak. When we say Gujarati. So he's saying Vipake. Sati Mule Tad Vipake Jati. Jati Ayu Bhoga. It has a class. It could be of self-love. It could be of jealousy. It could be of anger. It has a jat. Ayu. It has an ayushya. It lasts for a certain time. And as long as that ayushya is there, we have to bhog. We have to eat it. We have to experience it. We have to go through it. Jati Ayu Bhoga. Right? Then in the next sutra he says, Te alad paritapa phalaha punya apunya hetutvat. Alad means pleasure, happiness. Paritap means, pari is the circumference. Tap means pain. Round and round pain. Again and again pain. That karma can give happiness or pleasure. It can give happiness or pleasure, depending upon the time of sowing the seed, whether there was, what was in your mind, what was the motive? Was the motive punya or apunya? Was the motive, punya means evolution or involution? Was the motive to progress in life or was the motive to go down in life? Was the motive to fall in your level of being or was the motive to rise in your level of being? If I say, hey, give this to me, then I've fallen in my level of being. And I say, please give it to me, then I have risen. At the time of doing the karma, what was the original motive? Te punya apunya hetutva. Te alad means happiness. Paritap, phalaha, gives the fruit of happiness or pain according to what was the motive, hetu, at this time of sowing. Te punya apunya hetutva. Right? And in the last sutra on karma, he says, Parinam tapa sanskara dukhehi. These three are pain and only pain. He emphasizes dukhehi. He emphasizes Parinam means change. Life is ever changing. Each moment everything is changing. And this change brings about friction inside. Tap, Parinam, tap, it brings friction inside, and that friction leaves a score, it leaves a sanskar. Parinam tapa sanskara. Yesterday I was young, today I'm old, there's change. My son was young, he used to play in my lap, but now he's old, he's got a job, there is change. And each change is bringing about a friction in life, it is bringing about a struggle in life, tapa. It is bringing about this heat in life, and that is leaving a score inside, which is going to become a cause for repetition of pain. So he said, Parinam tapa sanskara dukhe. He emphasizes guna vritti virodhacha sarvam dukham vivekina. So now in the previous sutra he said that at the time of sowing, what was your motive? Was the motive good? Then you will get pleasure. If the motive was bad, you will get pain. Now in the final sutra he says, Sarvam dukham vivekina. To the one whose inner light has come, the one who can see, the one whose vivek has unfolded, for him, whether it is pleasure or pain, everything is pain. Because whether it is pleasure, it is a seed for repetition of pleasure, and whether it is pain, it is a repetition for pain. He's not interested in that, he's interested in freedom. Sarvam dukkham vivekina. So in the final sutra he says, even though there is pleasure and pain, even though there is happiness and sadness, for the one whose vivek has unfolded, for the one whose inner light has come out, has started, the inner light has come out, for him pleasure is also pain and pain is also pain. Sarvam dukkham vivekina. And why? Because of the guna vritti virodha. Because of the law of the pendulum. Everything is opposing each other. And I'll just finish on this final point. The three gunas, we've not talked about the three gunas. Just imagine a scene where Shakti is saying, I want to make the world. I want to make the world. So one guna comes out and says, okay, I'm ready to make the world, and we call that as Rajas, the active force. Right? Then how to make it? What is the matter? What are the bricks? What are the concretes to make the world? What is the energy to make the world? So another guna comes out, it is called tamas. They say, you want to make? I'm ready to be made. You use me to make the world. Or who is going to decide the ratio of the two? So a third guna comes out, sattva, which balances the two. And everything in life is a manifestation of these three, active, passive, neutralizing. Every manifestation in life, every form in life, every event in life, everything that happens inside or outside is a manifestation of these three. Now Patanjali is saying that in this very making of this world, one guna had to work opposite the other guna. Tamas had to be against Rajas. Only then could this world be made. And if in the very making of this world, if there was violence, if there was one against the other, sarvam dukkham vivekin. In this world, there is no, you cannot find that ultimate happiness. You have to separate from it. And that is why he says, sarvam dukkham vivekina, guna vritti virodhacha. Because of this opposing nature of the gunas. The gunas are in opposing nature. I mean, in a game of cricket, you can only have the game if there's a batsman and there's a bowler. But one has to be against the other. And this is the law of life. Without violence, there is no life. In the very basis of life, there is violence. And if life has been born out of violence, then only separation from life can lead you to a state of ultimate happiness. That is what Patanjali is trying to say. Sarvam dukkham vivekina. I'll stop over here. Thank you. Thank you.